So this video is here to explain what happens when you have Mercury sitting in the ninth house in your birth chart. So what is the ninth house? The ninth house is a house that is associated, it's originally ruled by Sagittarius and Jupiter. It's a house that deals with long distance travel. It's a house that deals with belief systems, traveling the world and learning and searching and learning about the world, learning about God, learning about belief systems and stuff. You know, that's why I sort of associated with long distance travel. Because before technology became so advanced, if you want to learn about the world, you have to go and travel. You have to go fly out and see the world. You know, explore the world, see it for your own eyes, or read books. The ninth house is associated with education, higher education. So this is like, you know, academical achievements that are equivalent to getting like a master's degree in college or something. You know, it's like mastery in one's educational field. And it could just be, you know, want to learn about religions and belief systems and all that stuff. So that's essentially what the ninth house is, short and simple. Also, the ninth house is associated with the ninth house is considered to be the house that's associated with the things that you learn from your father or father-like figure. You see, the 10th house is more so associated with the relationship with your father, potentially. And the ninth house is more so associated with the things that you learn from your father. And just like the 4th house is more so associated with your mom, some astrologers believe and say that the 3rd house would be associated with the things that you learn from your mom early on in life. Because when you think about it, your mother is sort of like your first teacher early in life. She nurses you and all this stuff. Or a woman in general is like your first teacher in life. But for some reason that I can't really think off the top of my head, it probably slipped my mind, the ninth house is associated with, you know, father's teachings, the things that you learned from your father or father-like figure. And then the ninth house is originally ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is just considered to be just masculine planets, so, you know, it makes sense a little bit. Anyway, so what is Mercury? Mercury represents written communication. It represents intelligence, logical, calculative, practical intelligence. Mercury is a fast-moving planet right after the moon. So it represents this quick thinking, quick discernment. Mercury rules the nervous system, so it deals with quick communication. Think about how fast messages are moving throughout our body, just to speak, just to move. That is Mercury. So Mercury represents quick, elegant communication, like I'm doing right now. Mercury represents siblings, but mainly younger siblings. Mercury is associated with youth. And that's essentially what Mercury is. Mercury just wants to use its intelligence to... Mercury is all about using your intelligence to solve and resolve problems like in your everyday way of living. Yeah. So what happens when you put Mercury in the ninth house together? Well, I mean, this is very general because a lot of things can happen. There's a lot of possibilities of what can happen if you have Mercury in the ninth house, just based upon the sign that Mercury is in and based upon what houses that Mercury rules. But since we don't know all that, this is just a general video. Mercury in the ninth house can make someone easily inclined to want to just be this eternal student. They constantly just want to learn and gather information. And they would want to take the information that they learned and gathered, and they would want to write about it. They would want to teach and write and speak about the information that they learned, because opposite of the ninth house is the 3rd house. So Mercury is looking at the 3rd house with its 7th aspect, because 3 and 9 are 7 places away. And the 3rd house is written communication, and the 3rd house is just, you know, short travel and your neighborhood and your siblings and your friends. So, you know, Mercury here, they would go and learn about something, and then they would want to immediately want to maybe share what they learned with their close friends, with the people around them. And yeah, that's one of the main things that you'll see with Mercury here. Mercury will be someone who will just be very curious and diligent about wanting to learn ninth house related things. That could be a variety of stuff depending on what aspect of Mercury and what sign Mercury is in. You know, if Mercury is very curious about learning about different religions, then Mercury might be interested about learning about different religions and belief systems and cultures. But Mercury here could just naturally be very academical, and he'll just want to teach and communicate what he learned to other people. Now, Mercury, like I told you before, is associated with quick communication, quick thinking, quick learning, quickly just getting you to the answer. So, Mercury in general isn't really considered a planet it's not a planet that's really a significator of a teacher. Jupiter is more so of a planet that's associated and considered to be maybe a teacher, maybe even Saturn, but not really Mercury. And probably for a lot of reasons why not Mercury, because Mercury just wants to learn how to solve something quickly, fastly, and efficiently. Mercury is like somebody who is going to go and get their provisional driver's license. You know, they take that little computer test online. That way they can, you know, drive around if they have somebody sitting with them and stuff. They're not gonna really remember all the street laws. They just want to learn just enough so that they can pass the test. Versus, you know, someone who has more so like a Jupiterian knowledge or Jupiterian or Saturnian approach to things, they would likely maybe sit patiently and read a book from front to back. Because you see, I told you, Mercury is a fast-moving planet. Don't quote me on how long it stays in a sign. I'm not entirely sure. And of course, those things change when a planet goes retrograde. But just in general, Jupiter is a slower moving planet. It stays in a sign for a year. And Saturn stays in a sign, I believe, for maybe 2 years or 2.5 years. Like I said, don't quote me on that either. But those are slower moving planets. So they get to sit and marinate when they are in a constellation. And Mercury is just moving very quickly. It's moving very fast. So the intelligence of Mercury is very quickly. And they might just, you know, spit out information quickly. They might not be so detailed. They might just give you, they might just straight up give you the answer when it comes to things, when it comes to teaching. They might just give you the shortcuts. Versus Jupiter, they might give you this long explanation, front and back, about everything in regards to what you want to learn. And Jupiter is just naturally considered to be more so of a teacher versus Mercury. Mercury could probably have great teaching capabilities if it's sitting with Jupiter and Saturn, if it's conjunct Jupiter or Saturn, or if it's aspected by Jupiter or Saturn. Because if Jupiter is sitting with Mercury, or if Jupiter is aspecting the Mercury, well, then Jupiter will be given its influence upon the Mercury to make sure that Mercury is teaching and doing things the proper way. Jupiter will be given its energy, like, okay, you want to teach, you want to do ninth house things? Well, if you do decide to teach, I'm going to be giving you my energy, I'm going to be giving you my influence so that you go about doing it the right way. Or if it's sitting with Saturn, or if it's aspected by Saturn, Saturn is going to put discipline and seriousness and responsibility upon the Mercury to go about doing things the right way. So he'd be like, listen, I know that you might want to quickly learn about these religions, or learn about these belief systems, or learn about these cultures, or learn about being a chemist, or whatever the hell you want to learn about, but you're going to do it seriously, you're going to do it correctly, you're going to do it the right way, and I'm going to have you double check what you're saying before you say it. So with the influence of one of those two planets, there's a better chance of, if Mercury in the ninth house was to pursue academical things in regards to teaching, that they would go about doing it the right and proper way. You know, the ninth house is associated with like teachers. So if Mercury's sitting in the ninth house, you might attract younger or youthful looking teachers. You might realize that a lot of people in your life who you come to for wisdom and guidance and information, they might be people who are either around your age or just young or younger than you. But that's really just about it with Mercury in the ninth house. You just use your intelligence, and you just use your intelligence to learn. And some of them with Mercury in the ninth house, they might be a brainiac. They might be a smartass. They might want to outshine their teacher. Because, or they might have conflicts potentially with their teacher. Or people who teach them. Mercury might think that they know more than the people who teaches them if they have Mercury in the ninth house. The reason behind this is because Mercury naturally rules the sixth house. The sixth house deals with obstacles and everyday problems and routines and struggles that we face in our everyday life. So Mercury, especially in Virgo, because the sixth house is ruled by Mercury and Virgo, Mercury naturally also has that energy of wanting to look for a problem, wanting to look for a flaw so that it can fix it. It's all about using your intelligence to solve and resolve problems. So Mercury, someone with Mercury in the ninth house, they might be someone who sit in a classroom and they might be very good at math. And the teacher is giving them this algebra equation, and you're looking at the algebra equation and you're like, why did you do all that? You could have just done this. And the teacher's like, what do you mean? Come up here and show us what you're talking about. And you just like, all you had to do is do this and that and that and this, and then boom, you still get the same answer. And then the teacher look at it and be like, well, I see what you mean. You're right, but that's a shortcut. And you see, if I gave you this problem and you did this and you did the same thing you did, you'd have gotten the wrong answer. So good try, but you need to do it my way. So you might see bickering amongst your teachers, amongst your elders, amongst people who try to teach you with Mercury in the ninth house, because you might want to naturally outshine the person who is teaching you. You might want to take shortcuts and quicker routes to get an answer and end result. And sometimes those shortcuts, those quick routes, might not be the right answer all the time with Mercury sitting in the ninth house. So with Mercury in the ninth house, though, you know, since Mercury is very logical and calculative and practical, they might be someone who might be a good teacher in the business world. You know, they could probably be some good financier, some financial consultant, some financial teacher, or whatever with Mercury in the ninth house, depending on what house the Mercury rules and depending on what's aspecting the Mercury and depending on the sign that the Mercury is in. You can see loads of different things with this Mercury sitting in the ninth house, because Mercury is sort of like a chameleon-like planet. It's sort of like this blank canvas, just like the moon, that's easily influenced based upon the sign that it's sitting in and the planets it's sitting with, and or depending on what planets are looking at the Mercury. Mercury can be easily influenced. And I'm gonna stop this long rant. So that's all I have to say in regards to what happens if you have Mercury sitting in the ninth house in your birth chart. I hope this gave you great insight and clarity on what to expect on what happens if you have Mercury in the ninth house in your chart. And thank you for watching.